Bonjour, let's talk about smooth open top end on vocals. It goes without saying that it starts with a great microphone placement, and if possible, a great preamp to start with a good foundation. When it comes to mixing, what you saw online is probably I'm using the EQP1A Pultec for the smooth top end, smooth open with warm, whatever buzzword you want to use, but I think it makes no sense, even if I think that actually the EQP1A works on vocal, but I will explain you why it works in my opinion. This is one setting I used on the lead vocal, for example. First, the fact that I'm boosting the top and the bottom end actually reshapes the mid-range, which can help to reshape the vocal from higher mid-resonant to lower mid-resonant. Another point that is crucial about the EQP1A is the ability to boost the high end with a broad Q and attenuating the extra top end with the attenuation, which helps softening the strong S's and high mid-resonances. Because you might have noticed that when you boost the high end with a broad Q, sometimes you get some nastiness in the extra top end, and that can help taming this. So if you can, for educational purposes, you can try to analyze what the top end attenuation does so you can replicate it in any scenario. And one last point about the EQP1A, by the nature of its passive design and also by the nature of its own design itself, its phase behavior is far from being clean. It means that when you boost the top end with a broad Q a lot, you get a tiny bit of attenuation at the crossover frequency, which is often much lower down the spectrum than the actual frequency you're actually boosting on the EQP1A. This is not an EQP1A, but you get the point. Same goes with the bottom end. For example, if you're boosting 100 Hz with the EQP1A, what you will get is probably a little bit of attenuation around 1000 Hz. That means that when you're boosting the top end and the bottom end with an EQP1A, you will also get the feeling of reducing some resonances in the mid-range without you doing it intentionally. That's why this tool works in your favor without you knowing. That's why a lot of people like it. It is not about what you will see in most cringe tutorials online about the warmth, depth, width of an EQP1A when they try to sell you a plugin or whatever. It's about the phase behavior of the actual unit, and also the fact that the curve, the way they are done, are very broad, and the cut complement the boost very well. See, you also have the tone of the circuit, but that comes after, because when you're boosting a lot, the tone of the circuit gets a little bit diminished because you're hearing mostly the boost and the cuts. And once you have a balanced vocal sound thanks to the EQP1A, you can do other stuff to make it fit into the track more easily. For example, sending the vocal to a parallel aux track with a Dolby 361 processor, or using a parallel aux with some mid-range saturation and slow compression to bring the mid-range in just as you need it. But all of this blended very subtly, as you can see. Yes, that's noise. If you want, at the end of the mix, you can add a little bit more top end and bottom end as I did here, because in context of the mix, sometimes you might need to push things a little bit further. Voila, obviously there are 10,000 ways to do a smooth top end on vocals, but that's one of mine. Enjoy, goodbye, au revoir, super.